Hello, hello, hello. It is BRAP. It's Wednesday night. We're back live. And let me just adjust my audio settings here real quick. Hold on a sec. All right, I think we're good here. Welcome everyone to another Basement Radio Game podcast, or BRAP as we're known on the Twitters and just generally in the gaming community, I suspect. What's up, Nate? Gregor Von Doom. And Nate's got like one of the best like gaming setups like on planet Earth. So big shout out to him. And what's up, Arc War Angel? Appreciate you coming through. Do me a favor, please hit the like button. We have 26 people watching right now. Just kicked off the show. Let's get 21 likes off the break. Please retweet the link or drop the link in your favorite social media platform. Let everyone know that we're live. So got a lot to talk about, and thought it was most appropriate to have this gentleman on. He's no stranger to the show. We have had him on previously. He is a former PlayStation retail representative. We have Chrono Zero Devil Numbers. Chrono, welcome back to BRAP, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I was like, I got to get Chrono on because you certainly have insight into all things PlayStation, as they were a former your former employer, as you're the you were employed there. For quite some time, like what, 8 years, 9 years? I forget, maybe longer, right?
Just a little over 8. Yeah.
8 years.
Almost,
okay. Yeah.
Almost made 9 years. Almost.
Yes, almost. So, yeah, I mean, you've been, kind enough to join us over the last, year and a half or so. And really, as always, provide great insight into the retail side of the PlayStation business. So there's certainly a lot to talk about as relates to PlayStation, like a lot. So there's some narratives going out there that I don't necessarily agree with, man. Like I think people are doing the mental gymnastics and they have their jump to conclusions mats. I was listening to a couple of podcasts today where people are, having the discussion whether or not PlayStation is about to lose this console gen. And I don't understand why we're having these conversations. Maybe it's for clicks and people like, to hear about the downfall of the mighty empire of PlayStation, I guess. I don't know. But we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the Last of Us Remake. The reviews are out. It's last I checked, it was Metacritic 89. And yes, so we're going to discuss what do the reviews think. Is it worth $70? And then we'll talk about the PlayStation acquisitions on the mobile side. And then also Sony investing into From Software with Tencent. So we'll talk about that as well. Plus, there's other game-related topics that we're going to discuss as it relates to Nintendo and Konami. Believe it or not, Konami's actually back in the news. So, so that's going to be interesting to talk about them because we never really talk about Konami. And I have they used to be good, but
Konami. Oh, poor Konami.
Konami's, they disappeared, Chrono. But what's up, Buck 45? So let's go ahead and discuss Konami, actually, as we're talking about them. So there's some news going around that that Konami may make an announcement, and I don't know if you heard about this, Chrono. That basically Konami saying they will announce a new game from a series loved around the world. Now, I think the obvious thing people are jumping to is, and this announcement's going to be made at the Tokyo Game Show, which I think is in a week. Is that?
Sounds about right. I've lost all track being out of the industry now.
Yeah, I think I want to say it's probably in about a week, but so at least here are some of the Konami titles that are going to be at Tokyo Game Show. eBaseball, Powerful Pro Baseball 2022. That's coming out for PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. eFootball 2023. That's also coming for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, PC, iOS, Android. Just say mobile. Esports Ginza School. Oh, I don't know what that is. Let's go to some of the other games. Shine Post, Be Your Idol, that's mobile. Super Bomberman R2, that's PS5, Xbox Series, last gen consoles, Switch, PC. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel, which is mobile. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, also mobile. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, that's on the current generation consoles, last generation consoles, Switch and PC and mobile. And then Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel, Dawn of the Battle Royale, Let's Go Rush, that's on the Switch. And then some other partner titles that they have, Space for the Unbound, PS5, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch. Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly. I don't even know what that game is. Never heard of it. PS5, Xbox Series, last-gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One. Ready Only Memories, Neurodriver as PS5, Xbox Series. And then Falcom, The Legend of Heroes, Kuro no Kiseki, Crimson Sin, that's PS5, PS4. So Falcom, actually, I don't know if you've played it. Have you played any Falcom titles? Any games from Falcom?
No. They do what, the Fire?
They do
Fire Emblem games? Is that right?
What's that?
Which games did they do?
They do. Oh my God. What is it? They do. The Legend of Heroes. Trails of Cold Steel. That's what. That's the one that I know from them. Yeah. Yeah.
No, those games have always been on my radar. I just never got around to playing them. Because they were very prominent in the PlayStation section. When I was working for them for PlayStation, and I always saw them. But I just never got around to them. I know a lot of people swear by those games too. So
they do. Kofi, we've had on the show, Creative Kofi. He's actually the one that introduced me into the Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. I played a little bit of 3. I may have played. I forget which one I played. There was one that I think released in 2013 that I may have played a little bit as well. I haven't completed the games yet because I have really bad gamer ADD. It's hard for me unless it's battle royale, which I'll just, because the battle royales are so dynamic for me that I get addicted. They are solid games. So Falcom is one of the developers that they're partnering with. So, but there's a lot of speculation that Konami would announce something Castlevania related. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And there's there's been that rumor for some time, Chrono, that the Metal Gear Solid remake is in development for PlayStation. Who knows what's happened with that? I heard about that 2 years ago, and we just maybe that's still a thing. I don't know, but we'll see. But real quick, I want to introduce Game Logic. What's up, Game Logic?
Nothing much, man. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Awesome.
We're just talking a little Konami. They have an unannounced game that they're gonna reveal at the Tokyo Game Show, but it doesn't sound like it's gonna be Castlevania or Metal Gear Solid. I can't even imagine what it might be. Definitely not Silent Hill. Although who knows? Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know, but.
The idealist in me is just yes, they're finally going to do it. They're finally going to pull the trigger and give us a new Silent Hill. The old school head in me wants a new, a good Contra or Castlevania game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they pull a bait and switch and it'll be, Pro Evolution Soccer or eFootball as they call it now. But that's. Yeah,
that's an announced game. They announced eFootball. That's going to be at the show. So
okay,
yeah.
Right. So it's something different, huh? Okay, all right. Yeah, I would love to see a good old school style Contra game. That's what I would love.
I mean, I would take a Contra game. I mean, who doesn't love up, down, left, right, BA, select, start, right? Do you remember that? You remember that Game Logic? I don't know if you played Contra on the NES, but yeah.
No, I was a Sega kid.
Oh man, we're gonna have to chat after the show. Logic. I'm just joking. So you had the Master System then?
I had the Master System, the Genesis, the 32X, the Sega Saturn, and the Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah, the Master System actually was a really solid system, man. Definitely. Space Harry's still one of my favorites.
They were all solid systems.
Oh yeah. Talk about a great time to be a gamer. But I mean, it's great to be a gamer now. I mean, I feel like I have more choices today than I did yesterday, where I have options to purchase games and interact with games in so many different ways that if you would have told me 30 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, right. But what publishing source is actually told VideoGamesChronicle.com that the reveal is likely to be related to a smaller project rather than Konami's larger planned revivals for Castlevania, Silent Hill, and Metal Gear Solid. And it sounds like Castlevania is well along development, apparently. And Silent Hill 2 Remake is understood to be active development by the media developer Blooper Team. And there's some sources are suggesting that Silent Hill 2 Remake will be exclusive for PlayStation consoles alongside PC. So I've heard that. I've heard similar things too. We've had B on the show. B talks to people. I'll just leave it at that because he says a lot of things that happen. But anyhow, so the one thing I was going to say was that as it relates to some of these older titles being exclusive to PlayStation, I've heard similar things. That's going to kind of be a play, something that Sony kind of does. So this generation. So I don't know. I don't know. Logic. Are there any Konami titles that you were a fan of?
Nope.
That you might want to see? No.
Nope. I was trying to there was no need for you to complete that question. I was just trying to catch it. Do a little
nope.
Do a little conservation of energy there.
No, I hear you. Castlevania, Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid. Just give me those three, and I will be a happy gamer. A happy gamer, I will be.
Yeah, I'll play good games whenever they come out. I'm not like a Konami stan who's like marking time until that next title comes out or whatever from that publisher.
Oh, I'm marking time on my wall for Konami right now. I'm a stan.
I used to be, but then they would constantly disappoint me with pachinko games. So I've been battered enough. So
yeah, Gregor Von Doom says it's going to be a Switch Bomber game, but Bomberman game. Well, I think they have already listed Bomberman, Gregor Von Doom, for what's it? I can't remember. For Tokyo Game Show. So I think that's already kind of been announced. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But Konami, I just remember Konami in the Nintendo era with the they had like the silver boxes, silver gray boxes. Do you remember that, Chrono? I don't know if you remember that from the NES days.
They're ultra line. They're workaround to try and get more than one or two games per cycle out there onto the store shelves. So yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, it's wild. Actually, it's we used to buy games. At least I did. I don't want to speak for everyone on the panel. I used to buy games when I was younger, like going into Babbage's and just looking at box art sometimes. Especially like in the Atari 2600 days, like the box art was fire. I'm like, I'm getting that game. Wouldn't advise that today to do that, but that's how BRAP used to buy games. So. It's interesting. Like we talk about like the different like color box art that Konami had. Like I feel like that silver gray like color box that the game came in, the cartridge came in, was kind of like their thing. But I actually still have Dragon Warrior, the first Dragon Warrior game from Enix, that released on the NES. I still have that in the box and everything. And I have a couple other.
So did you?
Yeah.
Did you end up getting it from the stores? Or, if I remember correct, it was either that or Final Fantasy that they were giving them, that they were selling them as a part of the Nintendo Power subscription.
No,
I can't remember which one.
No, I got Dragon Warrior at the store.
Okay.
And I want to say I picked it up at Babbage's. And that would have been like 1980. Oh shit. Shoot, 88? I don't remember, man. I'm old. I don't remember. Yeah. But there was definitely like me playing Dragon Quest 11 and seeing the little blue blobs. There's a lot of nostalgia for me with that, believe it or not. Because they were there in the Dragon Warrior. So it was Dragon Quest in Japan, but Dragon Warrior in the US. And that game released now it's Dragon Quest, but anyhow. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I think Tokyo Game Show. Oh, I gotta look at when's Tokyo Game Show. The 15th of September. So Runs through Thursday the 15th through Sunday the 18th. I really don't pay attention to Tokyo Game Show much anymore. I used to, like probably 20 years ago, but not anymore. I just don't. I know Xbox, Microsoft will have its own presentation at Tokyo Game Show. PlayStation VR 2 will be playable for the first time at Tokyo Game Show. I'm really interested to see PlayStation VR. If I'm not mistaken, I think Resident Evil Village will be playable at the Tokyo Game Show at the Capcom booth exhibition. So Capcom booth exhibition. I can't even talk. So
I wish I was still with the company, because I would love the opportunity to just show that off to like I know a lot of my colleagues hated doing demos, just because it was very unforgiving, being in a retail space, trying to convince people to try them out. But there was something about having someone try VR for the first time. And then, you can talk about it as much as you want and just try and describe the sensation of VR. And then when you have them put on the headset and then they experience it for the first time, seeing their body language change to where they finally understand it, it was one of my favorite things. That's why and that's why I always be a proponent for VR. I cannot wait for VR too. So.
I actually remember going to Best Buy when PlayStation VR came out, and I forget. I think I don't know how I found out that they were going to be at the location close to where I lived at the time. It may have been something on the website, maybe I don't remember, but I just remember seeing the reps there, and I got there really early because I wanted to be first in line. Because first of all, I was skeeved out about like trying something where other people's faces are touching. I know it sounds weird, but like
no.
But they had they're putting it on their head and it's touch, so I was like, yeah. But they actually had cleaning wipes, stuff like that, would wipe the lens off, whatever, and the device itself. But I remember like there was a bucket next to me, and the guy put it down. I looked at him, I was like, is that for throwing up? And he just started laughing. But he would say yes or no. He started laughing, so I assumed it was for if you got motion sickness. But you're right, like that was the first time where I sat down, I threw on the VR goggles, and I'm like, you're right, you have to experience it. Like you really can't watch. I don't think watching someone play it, I don't think really does it any justice. When I played PlayStation VR the first time, I was actually, okay, like this is cool. And I remember there was like a space game where I remember launching into I was in the cockpit of the spaceship, but I forget what the name of the game is, by the way. But it was like one of the first demos. Yeah, you shoot out, you go into space. I'm looking around like, holy crap, this is crazy. And then there was that demo with the little shark tank, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was that. That was actually pretty
VR
cool.
Worlds. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So that was cool. But no, I agree with you, Colonel. Like you gotta like sit down and experience it. So let me get the super chat real quick. We got Carlos Crespin with the $5 super chat. Says PlayStation Showcase announcement tomorrow. You've heard it here first. Okay, so okay, Carlos, I haven't seen anything. I don't know who you've heard that from, but we'll put that in the rumor column for right now. Gregor Von Doom says BRAP's first VR experience was being a stunt double in Lawnmower Man. I'm not. I know I'm the old, but come on. Anyhow, thank you for that super chat, Carlos Crespin. Hey, if they announce a showcase tomorrow, that'd be cool. I'd be excited for it. There is some God of War news that's trickling out right now. Game Informer has an article. There's some leaks that I've seen of gameplay footage, so looks pretty good. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Tokyo Game Show, September 15th. Xbox, as I mentioned, will be there. They are returning to Tokyo Game Show. Crota, why do you think PlayStation won't be there this year? I mean, it's kind of their backyard. Is it just, I know we've talked about this before. You think it's just a matter of, it just doesn't make sense for them to, put all the money and time into doing a show like that. I mean, and I don't know if they're going to have any, I'm assuming they probably won't even have a booth there, right?
Probably not. I just don't see, I think just the days of them doing big shows like this are over. Jim Ryan hasn't made that a priority at all. Yeah, the enemy apparently. He hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't made it a priority. I mean, obviously he was brought in to find opportunities for the company to save and make money. Doing these shows have always been expensive prospects. So, um, it's the reason why you don't have the PlayStation experiences anymore. That was Sean Layton's baby. And as fun as those events were, those were just expensive endeavors. And so, um, unless something really weird happens, unless the dynamic within the industry changes, I honestly don't see PlayStation doing big shows anymore. And it's much easier to develop the narrative of what they want, making sure their product looks best by doing these pre-recorded,
Yeah.
edited,
Yeah.
showcases. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I hear you. I've always wanted to go to a PlayStation event, never had the opportunity to. I remember seeing pictures of people on Twitter meeting Sean Layden. By the way, well played, Sean Layden. Well played, sir. Your commentary towards Michael Pachter was well played. Um, Apparently, Michael Pacter's going to be on David Jaffe's show. I don't know when that's going to happen. Maybe sometime this week, yeah. Sean basically brought up a prediction that Pachter had, I think, back in 2013 or something, about the console market being dead in 10 years or something, which he was clearly wrong about. So, anyhow, yeah. So Microsoft will be there. They're going to show some games that are curated for their players in Japan and Asia. And they'll be streaming the presentation on their YouTube channels in Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and the official Tokyo Game Show channel will be broadcasting it as well. I'm not. I haven't heard of any. I haven't been keeping up with anything Xbox, to be honest with you, in terms of any potential games that might be announced there or what they might show. So we'll see. But I know Phil Spencer's been on record saying that Microsoft's really focused on better catering to the Japanese console market this console generation. So we'll see how that plays out. So it looks like yeah. So keep an eye out for that. All right, give me a sec here, guys. I need to pull something up real quick. By the way, somebody in the live chat, who is it? Bender Strings? Come on, man. He said, forget virtual reality. BRAP's so old, reality was still new when he was born. Savage. Savage. By the way, I don't have any beef with said podcaster that you guys are talking about. But yeah, I don't really care for being accused of fandom. Yeah, that's another conversation. All right, so it looks like there's a rumor going around. Actually, this is something that Jeff Grubb talked about. Him and Mike Minotti and Jeff Grubb on their podcast this week said they're pretty sure that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct coming up that held this coming month. And according to those two, they said the one thing they're very, very sure is being announced is that at this Direct are the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports for Switch. And Grubb thinks there's going to be a lot of Zelda stuff at this thing, as he says. But yeah, 100% there's a Nintendo Direct in September. There's still some uncertainty about whether this will be a general Direct, maybe a mini. There was some talk about it being a partner Direct. So this is, again, according to Grubb and Mike Minotti. So are you guys, what do you guys, are you guys excited about maybe seeing some Zelda, some old Zelda at this Nintendo Direct?
I'm a sucker. I complain and complain that all they do is just push out the same game over and over again, and then they show it, and then I'm like jelly, and I'm there for it again, and I give them my money, and I'm a fool. and I admit it. And yeah, regardless of what they do or say, I'll be there, and I'll be stupid doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it's gonna be Twilight Princess, Wind Waker HD ports. Look, Wind Waker actually, because that was on GameCube if I'm not mistaken, right? God, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of this stuff. I actually really enjoyed Wind Waker, and I like visually, like it was just I think it was like the first. Was it like the first cell shaded like Zelda or something? I don't remember now. Jesus. But anyhow, it was that. It was definitely an interesting iteration of Link because he looked like a little kid. But it was actually a pretty good game and a beautiful game, I thought, at the time. And so, kind of like you, look, nostalgia is
The hell of a drug.
Yeah, I tell you. I mean, as much as people complain about $70 remakes of The Last of Us, I'll happily pay $60 for for Wind Waker HD port to the Switch. Yeah, because I just remember playing it, and again, these games were giving Twilight Princess and Wind Waker were actually also given HD treatment on the Wii U. But I didn't play those on the Wii U at the time. I didn't own a Wii U. So yeah, I think Wind Waker. I don't know about Twilight Princess, but definitely Wind Waker would be something that I would definitely buy. When it comes out. So, Logic Man, any thoughts on this Nintendo Direct? Any Zelda related stuff? Or are you just kind of like, nope?
Nope. It's just wait and see.
All right. All right. So let's move on.
Oh, I see Forte hopped on. Does he have
Forte,
an opinion?
Is Forte here? I didn't see
I don't
Forte.
know.
Yeah.
There he is. What's up? The great gaming Forte. What's up, Forte?
I'm tired. That's what I am. Shout out to just got through with store leader week this week. So I'm tired. Just got back home today.
What is
So
store?
tired.
What is that? What is store leader?
It's we did our GameStop did their annual get together with the store leaders. So ours was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So we did it. We did it here in our state in Livonia. So we did it.
Yeah.
A couple of districts. Yeah, a lot of just tired.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, no, I appreciate you, hopping in Forte, considering the long day that you have. You know what, man? We didn't get a chance to. Well, actually, before I ask you this question, Forte, did you have any thoughts on the Grubb and Mike Minotti mentioned about the Nintendo Direct and the focus kind of being on Zelda?
Doesn't matter. Nintendo gonna do Nintendo things and it's gonna work for them.
They're gonna you're gonna get caught when that Wind Waker HD for Switch drops. You're gonna get a lot of pre-orders, huh?
Yeah, sure am. I mean, shoot. I mean, all they gotta do is say anything about Zelda at this point right now. I mean, they've been very stagnant with that information as of late. A lot of rumors and speculation out there about stuff being tied to
Something for Metro Prime.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Nintendo. They know what they have. They know people want it. It just comes down to them finally doing it. I mean, I think they have some of the best ways of communicating with their player base, with their Patreons and stuff when it comes to those directs. They kind of feature those things with the bigger things that's coming out. They just came off of a Splatoon 3 Firefest, so that would actually went off really, really good because the game comes out next week. So they have a lot of good stuff coming. Of course, if they have some stuff around Zelda, that's going to be amazing. But it also comes down to are we going to get? I mean, it's cool to get some older Zelda games, HD collections, but what everybody really wants. When are we gonna get the next Breath of the Wild 2 update? That's when everything for Zelda is gonna kind of amp up a lot. But everybody's just excited for whatever Nintendo puts out at this point. People just love that stuff, and Nintendo's been riding the tidal wave for quite some time now. And I see some people in the chat says they kind of been meh since 2019. I mean, it depends on who you are. I mean, 111 million Switches. sold since 2017 doesn't really say meh. So
it may be meh if you're not a Pokemon fan, because
right,
it was
exactly.
it's been like a Pokemon goldmine for this generation.
Yeah, this is probably the system that they release. I mean, outside of the DSi, but actually, that's probably the truth. They haven't released this many Pokemon games since the initial launches of their original handhelds. You know, when it came to the DS and the DSi's and stuff like that. And they're starting to bring a lot of the mainline stuff in. They already, ported over and did updates to some of their earlier franchises and stuff. So yeah, Pokemon's been a factory. You're getting a second one this year. Arceus came out earlier this year. You're getting the Violet and Scarlet at the end of this year. So that's going to be really, really cool, and that's a big push for Nintendo. But you also got Mario Kart out there that's going to probably be in a bundle this holiday, and they're going to probably
same bundle.
It's going to be the same bundle, and guess what? They're probably going to add they might add a little more value to it and give you the pass
expansion.
The expansion pass is part of it. That I can see that being another way to get people in, because that game still sells like crazy, because I still think that's one of the main reasons to own the Switch is to have Mario Kart. So yeah, Nintendo's doing it. They doing their thing. It may not be what everybody likes, but that's the reason that they're a complementary system to everything else you have in your house. You don't have to have them just to play just them. You have them to just complement what you already have in your house.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think it's been a mad thing for them, given just the amount of consoles they sold. And I just feel like anytime there's a release, like even like with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, that at least just seems, and I know this is kind of like a small sample size, but at least on social media, than what I've seen, there seems to be a lot of buzz, like with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I still need to play. I have it. I just haven't fired it up yet, because thank you, Slow Mo Backslap, for introducing me to Fortnite. Yeah,
that game's horrible.
Hey, Forte, is there a collector's edition for Bayonetta 3 coming through your stores?
There's supposedly one now. Is that going to be something that you can actually pre-order in store? Good question. I'll let you know though if that is a thing.
Oh, don't
Much
tell me
appreciated.
that. Don't tell me that.
I'm not. No. I told you what your deal is now.
What's that?
Surcharges.
Fear of missing out?
Nope, surcharges.
Surcharges?
Oh, did you not hear what I said during the IOP that day when you were talking? I'm gonna pull you to the carpet, Forte, on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, you still get an F, sir.
That's whatever. And like I said during that show, since you didn't hear me and your ears were closed, I said if that's the case, I'm going to start charging surtaxes and surcharges on all of the stuff that you buy from me. So I'm going to say $50 for everything that I ship to you, because that comes out of my time. That's me investing time to bring you stuff, to ship it to you. So,
well,
so
I'm going to start.
You said the Sony can do this. What about, I don't care about their bottom dollar. Who cares? That's their money. Who cares? I don't care what they do. But if you want to be like that, Brad, and you want to just donate money to other people, then I'm going to have you donate more money to me when you want me to send you something.
How am I donating money to other people? I got to hear this.
Listen, man. Well, okay, so do we really want to go into this conversation about something we talked about for the last 2 weeks that we really don't want to talk about again when it comes to like price gouging and stuff like that?
Well, what do you define as price gouging?
Well, listen. Okay, so what is your stance? Okay, so I guess we are doing this. What is your stance on what PlayStation's doing? Tell me, please. I'm really interested.
What is my stance?
What is your stance?
Frankly, I mean, I don't care. I mean, like,
okay.
Like as a consumer, this doesn't impact me. This is just the reality of,
Okay, it is the reality, but
I'm also not screaming at the ether and saying, "God damn, Sony."
No, you don't gotta scream. You just don't have to agree with it.
But I understand why they did it. But I frankly I
agree with it.
I don't have an issue with it. Like I said,
no. Why don't you have an issue? You should have an issue with it.
Because
so what? But why? What does having an issue with it accomplish? And what does that do? You asked a question. I'm asking the same question.
I'm asking the question. You know why? Because listen, okay, bad choice of words. You don't have to have, but you shouldn't be against anybody else's issue and talking them off.
I'm not.
Why they have
I'm not. First of all, I'm not against anyone who has an issue with it. What I am against though is people using conjecture and talking out of their rears about, they didn't have to do this, record profits, this and that. It's like, guys, Forte, do you have access to their financials?
Brad, let me ask you something. So we're talking about a company, once again, we're only going off the numbers that they threw at us. So we can only gauge off what they threw at us. They threw numbers at us saying that the PS5, the disc-based version, was already making money. Correct. They already said they were not.
What's happened since then? There, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, they just announced it recently. So you try to tell me in 24 to a week, 2 weeks time that it changed? So I'm just so answer that question for me, Brad. Did they or did they not announce that the PS5 was making record? They were making profit on that system when it comes to the disc-based system. Did they say they were making profit on it? Yes or no?
So here's the thing.
Answer the question, Brad. Just yes or no.
No, because it's not a yes or no question.
It is. They literally stated it. It's a yes or no. If they didn't say that, Brad didn't say they didn't say that. Either they said it or they didn't.
Well, because the argument's a little more nuanced than what they said.
No, Brad? Oh my God, Brad. Okay. My head hurts. My head hurts.
I mean, is it not more nuanced than that? I mean, again, like when you say profit, what's the profit on that?
No. They never. They just said they never said profit. Who knows what the profit is? When you say that you are making a profit on a product, it doesn't matter if it's 2 cents or it's $500. You come out and say what the profit is if that's the case. Say we made $300,000 in profit off of selling the PS5 since launch. That's you giving the actual number. But if you just come out and say we're making a profit, that could be as ambiguous as you want it to be. It could be 2 cents. It could be $50. But that is you leaving it up to everyone else to just assume that, oh, well, Sony's making a profit on the PS5. So I'm just saying, if you want to be 100%, if you're going to use that conjecture on it, then you should be saying, okay, well, what's the number? Just like we always talk about when Xbox goes out there and says, oh, we have 400% growth year over year. But what's 400% growth year over year? Is that on like 2 people? We do the same thing to Xbox. So it ain't no different. It just comes down to what they tell you is what you go off of. I don't try to dig deep into the minutia of what it is. I just say, hey, what did they say? And how do we just talk about that one conversation? So that's why I say, did they say this? Did they say that? They are also the same company that came out and said that digital games is 80% of their market of the market for PlayStation. And if I remember correctly, you don't have to package a disc. You don't have to worry about reading. You don't have to worry about shipping it. You're making what 100% more profit off of the games off of your games that you're selling, which are the first party games.
Where are you getting 100% more profit, and why are you assuming? Why are you assuming there's no other?
Listen, you're not paying. If it's your game, you're making all of the money back on. You're not paying anybody else to manufacture it, and you're not paying anybody else to ship it, and you're not paying nobody else to sell it. So you're making all that money back on your store. Now, if you're selling on somebody else's store, like if they're selling it on Steam, then yeah, they're taking whatever their cut is. But we all know, and Kronos is here, PlayStation a couple of years ago did what? Took all of their digital games off of the storefronts from all of the different retailers, so you can't sell digital product of their games anymore. All you can sell is all you can sell is their digital currency cards. You can't sell DLC from them anymore either. So all you can sell is digital currency. So I don't even know what the market on that is. I don't know. It may not even be any. It may be 2%. Who knows? You're not making really anything off that. So everything that goes through the PlayStation store that is a Sony manufactured product, they're making all the money on. They're not sharing that money with anybody else. The only other people that's getting money off of that is the developers that they're paying that are underneath them, which is going back to them. And then they're making even more money off of the third-party games that people were going to buy probably in the store digitally, but they can't anymore, so they have to buy it on the PlayStation Store. So that 5 to 10% that they probably were losing to retailers just by selling the code in the store, now they're getting that back in the store, and they're only losing a small, I don't know, who knows what that number is, but they're losing less doing it that way because they're selling it on their marketplace other than going through a third seller selling it as a disc base. So they're making money in other places. Nobody's going to disagree that everybody understands why they're doing it. We all understand why they're doing it, but people sit there and say that, oh, they don't have a problem with it. Okay, you don't have the problem with it. Just don't try to jump down somebody else's throat about having a problem with it, because there is other ways. They're saying, basically you're saying is they need to do this because they're probably losing money in other places. And I'm like, all you talk about is how you're getting money in other places. And I mean, I could be wrong in that, but that's just the way that I look at it, especially from a person on the retail side that literally sees all of the money that you would have been spending in other places. You're literally keeping all that money in-house now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
So when it comes to
go ahead.
so when it comes to the systems, and and this actually, I guess, I don't know if this sort of forces the segue into the discussion that you were having, that you wanted to have, but yes, the PlayStation 5 initially was PlayStation started making a profit on the PS5 rather quickly in the generation. Within the first, I think, 3 months, the PlayStation 5 became profitable, and the disc-based system. From what I understand, and this is from some of the most recent articles and financials that I've seen, from my understanding, that has changed because of all the factors that everyone has talked about. The supply chain, the inflation, the yen, all of that.
The exchange rate, Jeremy, is killing them.
Yeah, and the thing is, so for the first time since the PlayStation 5 launch, the disc-based system is no longer making a profit for them. The discless system has never made a profit for them.
Never made a profit for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already know that as well.
So, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, something had to give, if they want to make the same amount of money that they were making before and stay profitable. The price had to change somewhere, and I am a little surprised they didn't choose the American market also, but
you would think that that's where it would change. And that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing, because I don't want to argue about why we should pay higher prices here. But if my whole thing, if this is a financial decision, why wouldn't you raise the price in the area where you're selling the most consoles?
Because that's the area where the currency is constant with your originally set price that you were selling the console for. You're not losing any more money on the console that you're selling in that country. All of the other places where you've raised prices are areas where you are now losing more money than you had originally projected.
So what all these other so Sony just had a moral compass and said we're just not going to raise it in America, but places like places like Meta was like, screw that, we're raising them everywhere.
It's not a moral compass, and I mean, this for me is part of the conversation that I'm kind of tired of hearing. Right? There's no morality or ethicality to the decisions that are being made. They are business decisions oriented around fulfilling their obligations to their shareholders and investors. Now, I just said a statement that was completely and entirely devoid of emotion, compassion, empathy, was based on nothing other than math. But I guarantee you people are in the chat and people will listen to the show and people will put comments down that I'm a corporate shill, that I don't care about gamers, right? Because people have an inability to listen to things that are simply mathematically based, right? And interpret them as simple mathematical and financial and business reasons. When consumers make decisions about what products they're buying, there's no morality and ethicality to it. When consumers are lodging the distaste for Sony raising prices, it's not as if consumers are somehow on some higher moral plane or higher ethical plane than the corporation. The corporation is an organization and an entity that is designed to fulfill a mission. The question that we're asking about why were prices raised, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Forte, but here's my problem with it, and I think this is where BRAP has gotten around too. The problem I have is that it constructs this elaborate scenario that is way off the base of anything oriented around Occam's razor, right? And assembles all of these reasons why a thing shouldn't have happened. But to me, at the end of the day, none of that matters, right? The blog post was about a price increase that had already gone into effect.
Right.
The only thing that matters right now is that, and quite frankly, I mean, these are the laws of economics that are going on. The company is producing a product that is in high demand and in scarce supply, and they raise the price. Who really cares why? I have all sorts of people in the chat and in comments on the YouTube channel and on Twitter who are conspiracy theorying now that there is no global chip shortage. It doesn't exist.
I saw that.
They made it up.
Yeah, I saw that.
We never landed on the moon. There was a second shooter on the grassy knoll. Sandy Hook never happened, and the Earth is flat, right? And you shouldn't take vaccines, right? My problem and concern with this is as BRAP refers to it, mental gymnastics. We're making up all these reasons why this shouldn't have happened, and quite frankly, injecting a lot of they shouldn't do it because greedy corporations and like none of that exists. None of that is real. A price went up. Decide to pay it or not. Determine what the value is. All the things that were just said about why they didn't have to raise the price. My question is was that the same reasoning that was applied when people decided to pay $500 for it? What was the formula? What was the basis of estimate that people used to decide that $500 was okay? And when PlayStation 3 launched at $600, what was the decision that people made to pay that price? Because you couldn't flip and buy a PlayStation 3 when it launched, despite its exorbitant price.
And I'm gonna tell you exactly what, and you know, the thing that what you just said is absolutely correct. And I would never have an issue with what you just said because it's not coming off as you're telling people that they're wrong for feeling the way they think.
Forte, I've never said anyone's wrong, but I've never. Wait. Let me just finish something because people say this. People say this a lot in the comment section, like when we discuss these things. Again, it goes back to I say the sky's blue, and everyone's yelling, "Why are you defending the sky being blue?" It's an explanation of the why and how these things happen. No one is saying that you shouldn't feel a certain way. I've never said that. I've even said, hey, as a consumer, I don't like paying more, but I'm also not coming to conclusions based on incomplete information that I have. I'm not doing that. I saw this a lot. I think it was you, Game Logic, mentioned, or maybe it was Chrono mentioned vaccines. I saw this a lot during the pandemic. Oh, they made the vaccines in a year. They're not safe. Well, no, that's not entirely how that works. And so it's kind of the same thing. Like it is, people are jumping to these conclusions that they should have done this, or this is how these things work, or record profits. And record profits I said record profits only go so far because there's
not even don't even give them that, BRAP. They don't mean anything.
No, yeah,
right. Because if it cost me $885 a year ago, right? If I had to make $885 in sales to generate $100 of profit, and the next year I had to make $1,225 in sales to generate the same $100 of profit, then my net profit margin has gone down. It's taking me more money to make money. That is an indicator that industrial costs are going up. Oh, by the way, those are the exact figures off of the Sony financial statement.
Yeah,
right. That net profit margin slipped from 11.3% 1 year ago to 8.3% today. It is taking them more money to generate the same amount of profit. Costs are going up, and so, like I said, Forte, it's about people making all these things up. I appreciate that, what you said about kind of understanding what I was coming off, but I guess where I will vilify myself a little bit from a resident, I haven't said that people shouldn't feel the way that they should feel, but I have said that feeling the way that you feel and vocalizing the way that you feel is not imparting an impact to the market and is not influencing Sony to change their behavior.
Right.
I have people saying that they bought a PlayStation 5. Here's the thing, right? If you bought a PlayStation 5 at any point in this generation, I've bought 2. I am guilty as well. You yourself have participated in the behavior that has informed Sony of the demand signal that tells them it's okay to take the risk to raise prices. That is on you as much as it is on Sony. Well, not as much as it is on Sony, but it's on you. Right. You've participated in encouraging that behavior. And you have people who are unwilling to assume any accountability for that whatsoever, because all they want to do is complain about a price going up in a region that doesn't impact them because they've already bought a PlayStation 5. And oh, by the way, those people who have a PlayStation 5, here's another behavior that you could actually do to actually make a difference. You could stop buying PlayStation products. But none of those people have talked about not buying $70 games or $60 games.
And here's another thing too. While again, and this is the issue, and this isn't directed at you, Game or Forte, but this is kind of example of what I'm referring to. Like Xbox 448 says, there's no defense for Sony bumping up the price of the PlayStation 5, especially since they've been making profit of the systems for a year. I guarantee you, Xbox has never read the Sony financials, understands the impact that inflation is having, understands that how the exchange rate is detrimental to Sony right now. Like, I can't tell you how many times people were saying, oh, well, Nintendo nor Microsoft didn't raise, the prices of their consoles, so therefore bad Sony. I'm like, no, that's not what's happening. Microsoft's actually in a win-win position right now because the U.S. dollar is basically kicking everyone's ass right now. Like, to be in America right now in the U.S., we're actually sitting pretty well. Our inflation's about what, 8.7%, 8.5%. In the UK, it's like 18%. I forget what it is in the rest of the European Union, but it's definitely higher. They've been impacted by inflation more than we have, and so like that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, hey guys, like don't jump to these conclusions. Do a little research. But like Xbot is the example of kind of what I'm addressing here. He's coming to these conclusions with only a morsel of information and doesn't even understand the impact that the exchange rates have had, that inflation has had, the cost of manufacturing has gone up. You look at what's happening in China. I think it was David Faulkner estimated like the increase in manufacturing costs has gone up 30%. We know about the chip shortage. What happens when there's chip shortage? And you have Microsoft, you have Sony, you have all the other companies that are vying for the same chips. Supply and demand kicks in. But these companies are eating costs to get access to chips to make consoles, and that price has gone up. And then when you factor in that the yen is 30% weaker than what's the Chinese currency? Is it the yuan? I think it's the yuan, right?
It's the yuan.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, this is real. This isn't like. But again, no one is saying that you can't say, hey, you know what? I don't like price increases. That's fine. What I do take some issue with, though, is that people arriving to these wild conclusions without understanding the dynamics here. And putting out the jump to conclusion, Matt, and saying this is why. Again, this really reminds me of I go back to the vaccine stuff of the pandemic. It kind of reminds me of that, where people are arriving to these conclusions without understanding all of the information or how these things work behind the scenes. Like, again, we joke around about armchair analysts, armchair developers. Like, I mean, look, I went out and I wanted to find out why are these things happening. We have the internet at our fingertips. We have Google. You can find out how these things are happening or why these things are happening. And then this is the other thing. Like, Xbox goes weird how graphics cards are dropping as well. Again, I mean, this is a whataboutism. So this is what happened. Like, Xbox.
It's not only a whataboutism. It's just wrong, right? GPU prices have been overinflated for years. They're coming down now because the bottom is dropping out of the crypto market. There is a reason, right? And I guess here's my perspective too, right? There are lots of people who put things in comments and lots of things who put about like, well, we don't care about gamers. Here's my thing. I'm not trying to tell people what they should believe. I'm not trying to tell people what they should do. But what I do firmly believe in is that a better informed and more knowledgeable customer buying products from an industry is a better off consumer. And I would say that everything that we have done and that I have done has been oriented around passing on information and knowledge gathered to other gamers. Now, what you do with that information and knowledge is completely up to you. And I don't care if you insist on using that knowledge to say that you still want to stand in one place and wait for a price drop and yell and scream at Sony. That's fine. Whether you want to take that knowledge to go buy an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch, that's fine. But at the end of the day, I guess for whatever reason, and I agree, it doesn't make sense. I care, right, that people be armed with the information to go make the choices that they make. I'm not insistent that they be right or wrong, but that they be armed with the information. I hate consumers making choices and decisions out of ignorance. And I hate consumers making decisions because, quite frankly, they're listening to a bunch of YouTubers who are manipulating their emotions and lathering them up and arming them, riling them up to head out with torches and pitchforks about things that they don't themselves believe and are lying to their audience about because they themselves have bought a PlayStation 5. They themselves are buying $70 games. They themselves are taking review codes for those games and doing reviews on them. They themselves are taking your super chats and taking your subs. None of those YouTubers have started a GoFundMe, right, to create a change bucket for disadvantaged gamers, right? None of those YouTubers have created any type of charity or any type of code where gamers can go get games that they can no longer afford to get or stations that they can no longer afford to get. They're doing nothing but spreading misinformation, disinformation, and quite frankly, bullshit, right? That they don't understand, quite frankly, don't have the educational background to grasp, right? But they're doing it in very similar ways to lots of politicians, right? Who have convinced poor people that rich people have their best interests in mind. There are YouTubers, right, with large followings and making large amounts of money off of monetization, convincing gamers that they have their best interest to not have to spend an additional $50 to grab a console when they themselves are not impacted and they themselves are profiting. So,
and see, this is the other issue. And Xbox 448, I'm gonna pick on you because you're the example of the prop. You're the example. No, I'm gonna do it because he's in the live chat. So I'm gonna pick on him here. This is what I'm talking about. Like, instead of like having a conversation about like what we're discussing and having like a good dialogue, it goes to, wow, listen to this white knight, LOL. Like it becomes like almost childlike, and that's the part that kind of like, I'm like, look, like, come on, like we could all have dialogue here, but why does it always have to digress to that? And that's the kind of issue I have. Forte, you and I have conversations all the time. We disagree sometimes, but it's never like that. You know what I mean?
Well, most of the time our disagreements is like, I'm like, did you really just say that?
Yeah. No, but like you and slow-mo,
yeah.
have,
always, yeah, that's
but it's never, but I'm saying, but it's dialogue. But this stuff here, like, like that example of what Xbox doing, that's the issue that I'm seeing. It's like, guys, like there's information out there. Let's utilize the information that we have at our fingertips. I mean, again, we live in this age of information, right? Where it's literally at our fingertips. There's people out there on Twitter that we can reach out to, have conversations with. I always tell people, if you want to get some insight into the financials of the gaming industry, we had David Faulkner on. He's a great resource to have. He is more than happy to chat up with anybody and walk through somebody through the financials of these gaming companies. How they're making decisions, things like that, trends, whatever the case is. Matt Piscatella used to do that, but people unfortunately didn't. If what he said didn't really fit their narrative, they turned on him, and he kind of just said the hell with it. And unfortunately, big props to Optimus Code. When he was around, he tried to do the same thing, and people pushed back because he was saying things that didn't fit people's narratives. And so, look, there's just a lot of information out there. But look, again, and I'll say this again as a consumer, and I can't believe I have to say this again. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be upset for a price hike, but what I am seeing though is I'm starting to think that this is not about price hikes. It's more about a way to weaponize something against Sony, because I've seen people say things like this is unprecedented in the history of modern gaming. That's actually not true. Sony's actually done this before. They did this in Canada in 2014. Microsoft just increased the price of the Series X. The Series X in India, citing exchange rates. They increased the price of the Series X console in India in June of this year, citing exchange rates. There's some intellectual inconsistency here that I'm seeing for people, because if that is your stance, you should also be inclined to be upset about the increases in India as well. And look, Froggy, look, across the board, like, to me, that's cherry picking. You know, whether it's one country, two countries, if that's your stance, if you're telling me, well, if it only happens to one country, it's okay. But if it happens to 3 or 4, that's where I mean, come on, guys.
Well, the last thing I'll say about it is because, I mean, this actually was a really good conversation. I really didn't want to dive because, like I said, I really don't care because that's why you don't see me on Twitter talking about it.
No,
part
I know.
Of the reason why I don't. Part of the reason I don't do it is because of stuff like this. The biggest thing for me ultimately is everybody should have a voice. Now, I do agree. If you're out there weaponizing it to basically go into a console war, that's whatever. At least come to a conversation with some type of factual stuff that you can state. And none of us have the financials. That's the one thing I will give you. Nobody knows exactly what these financials are. We can only talk about the things that we know. We can talk about, they're definitely profitable with the system up until a certain point. We know that they're making way more money than they normally made when it comes to their games, just because of the simple fact that most of their games are so digital than they were before. So, those are all factual things that we know. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, because I said this multiple times on DPS last week. Doesn't matter, because guess what? People are going out buying PlayStations. They're going to continue to go out and buy PlayStations. Bundles are being sold for $800-900, and people are buying them. People are buying the systems from scalpers for $800-900. They're still buying them.
Forte, weren't you buying GPUs at an increased price?
Yeah, I bought my 3070 Ti. I bought it right before the prices dropped, and I paid $880 for that thing.
And that's kind of
$300 above price above.
And that's kind of what I've been saying too, Forte. People get upset when I say, look, consumers are going to choose whether or not this price increase works for them. We do this with every other consumer product. Like, I don't understand why when it comes to gaming, like, this is like, people like forget that whatever you do as a consumer also applies to the gaming industry. The way corporations operate in the gaming industry isn't unique to any other industry. And people are going to say, you know what, that $30 increase in the UK, you know what, my limit was $500. I'm out until it goes on sale. Or people are going to say, you know what, shit, I've been waiting for a year now. Now there's a shiny PlayStation 5 on the shelf. Hell, the $30, at least I got it now. And I'm willing to pay the $30. Just like you, Forte, you saw that 3070 Ti. You were getting those emails, and they were like, Forte, we got you. And you're like, I'm there. And
then Nick says, so why did you buy it, Forte? And I'm like, because I wanted it. I'm going to tell you the same reason I bought a PlayStation 5. I bought my PlayStation 5 day one for $500 and barely play it because the one game I want to play comes out on November 9th. So I bought a $500 system for one game. And some people are going to say, that's crazy. You all these other games. No, I just want this one game. So is that a terrible business decision to pay $500 for a game that's going to give you about 60-70 hours of enjoyment? Probably in some people's eyes, but that's what I wanted to do, because I really don't care about what the price of stuff is. It's just a simple fact of, when you start, and I think it mostly just got triggered from when I was talking about, because I'm not talking about it as a gamer from a gaming standpoint. That was me as a salesperson from a retail background, basically looking at the scenario from the outside, not knowing the background information of it. I'm asked a question about, why do you think they did this? In my opinion, should they have done it? I felt like they should have just raised it here in America, because like I said, as much as I don't want to see a price hike anywhere, I just feel like the way you combat that the most is by bringing it up in the area where you can charge the most and get more. You cover for the weaker areas and stuff. Some people don't agree with that. Some people feel you just raising in the places that you are losing the money in, and then you just equalize everywhere else. There's two different ways to do it. But for me, from a retail standpoint, I look at it like, okay, you're charging $10 more for your games. And it's just this thing, like Game Logic said eloquently, he said, but all of that stuff doesn't add up to what their books say now. And that's the thing. We can say you're making $70 per game, $10 more. You're selling most of your games digital. That's more profit in your pocket. You're selling all of your accessories. You're selling your PlayStation 4 controllers for $5 more than you were selling them for when they were PlayStation 4 because they work on your PlayStation 5. So you're making more money there. So all of that stuff adds up to more profit. But obviously, the money that they're losing on the system is being offset by that. And like Game Logic and you said, they want to balance that book and make it even again to where they was making the same amount of money before. That's fine and all. I don't have a problem with anybody having an issue with the price hike. I also don't have a problem with people explaining the reason they do. But if you're using it in a console war setting, then I'm out on you. That's the only thing that I kind of go back and I apologize to you, bro, because like when you told me I was kind of on a roll on what's the name on ILP, and you was like, "I'm gonna pull you to the carpet."
I was joking with you, man. No, I was joking with you, man.
Oh, I was just making sure because that.
No, man. I was joking.
We're friends here. We're friends.
I was messing with you, man. That's why I super chatted you. I was messing. I was messing with you. Yeah.
Well, we good, man. That's all.
No, man. I was. Yeah, go ahead.
So just to piggyback on what Forte said. So I appreciate what you said, Forte. I'm going to platform off of it though and mention my irritation though continues to be so you showed, I don't know, compassion, empathy for people who are angry. What still continues to bug me is people who are angry at me or us for not being angry at Sony.
I agree. I do agree with that because people, even knowing I'm kind of with them with being angry. They kind of see me as kind of that beacon. They're like, oh yeah, he's on our side. He's not against us. Compared to you doing the same thing, but you're just saying, yo, wait, this is why they're doing it. But like I said, the only difference is you're coming at it from, like you said, the business side of what they're talking about, because that's the side that you kind of live in and you kind of like analyze the most, compared to I'm on the retail side of it. So I see what they're selling and I see the net. I actually know what those profit margins are on the stuff that we sell for them. And I know how much we're losing by us not having it anymore. So I don't know what their exact numbers are on their end, but I know by us not being there, having the avenue to sell that stuff anymore, or the avenue of them getting more money off of those products, I know what they're getting that we're not getting anymore. So when I put those two things together, I'm like, okay, there is other ways they could have done it. Like I would say, they could do anything they want. They're a $1 billion company. They make all the rules because it's their product. I just felt like there was different ways of doing it. I felt, in my opinion, but I don't see their books. So I don't know if that was feasible for them, but that's just an opinion. But I'm not going to tell somebody else that their opinion is wrong, because none of us know. Honestly, nobody knows what actually is going on here but Sony, and they're pretty much not going to share that until a financial call in the next quarter.
I will say... I will say this is the perfect time for, there's this part of me that's just like, my God, I'm actually really happy that I don't work for the company anymore, because having to be that forward face, having to try and explain this to people would have been such a nightmare. So
you wouldn't have had to do that because you live in America.
Well, this is what
you know how gamers are.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would have reached him, and he would have had to explain it anyway.
Hey, real quick, I just want to welcome Slow-Mo to the panel. Slow-Mo, hey, I hope you had a successful draft and you got Aaron Rodgers, man.
Draft.
I was pulling for you, bro.
I had the best draft out of everybody.
And he's not talking about beer.
They are. No, I'm not talking about beer. They're very jealous of me. I heard a lot of hand wringing and swear words in the Yahoo draft chat. I was killing it. So yeah, I got a nice squad to somehow all go on IR by week 5 and end up me losing anyway.
You're gonna end up getting Carson Wentz on waivers, bro.
I refuse. I will take Justin Fields before I take him.
Yeah, go ahead, Gabe Logic. Go ahead. You want to chime in real quick, man?
All right, this will be my last C story. So the consumer side of me, Forte, says what I've been trying to convey to people is take control of your lives. Stop letting your happiness be dictated to you by Sony. If you don't like the line that you are standing in, get out of the line and go stand in the other one. If you feel like Sony is messaging and telegraphing to you that they don't want you as a consumer, stop hanging out someplace where you're not wanted. The 3 examples that I wrote up on Twitter this week was, and I apologize if I've said these on this show before, when I got my 3rd Red Ring of Death, when that Xbox 360 came back, I didn't take it from the depot. I didn't take it out of the box. I took it straight down to GameStop. I traded it in, and I didn't give Xbox any more money for 4 years. I left the ecosystem. I played the hell out of my PlayStation 3. That was the decisive action I took, right, for a vendor that I felt wasn't treating me as if I was valued. When I was angry at Steam for their refund policy, right, because of a bad situation that I had with an NBA 2K thing, right, I didn't buy games off Steam for 2 years, right? The Epic Game Store had come along. There were other places to buy games. I bought games from Good Old Games. I took positive and decisive action to no longer continue to fill their coffers with revenue. And when I was unhappy with Apple because I felt that their behavior in the Samsung lawsuit was way arrogant because they brought up some really ridiculous legal examples about Samsung copying them and said, well, Samsung could have come up with another form factor for their phone. They didn't have to make it a black flat slab, right? And actually
made a triangle.
Right. Well, and they actually had mock-ups. They actually had mock-ups and drawings of different form factors, and they were ridiculous. Right.
I do remember that. I forgot about the drops. Yeah, they were they were pretty bad.
Right. I didn't buy Apple products for 2 years. Right. Now, none of this is to say that I'm better than you or I'm superior than you. This is just to say and to provide examples, right, that there are things that you can do that are positive actions to remove yourself from that situation. Nobody's holding you at gunpoint and telling you that you have to buy a PlayStation 5. Right at those prices. As we keep saying, you have other choices on the market. Thank goodness. This is a great time to be a gamer, right? Years ago, you had 2 choices, right? And actually, really far years ago, hate to date myself, you had an option to buy an Atari 2600, and that was it.
Game Logic, I don't mean to cut you off, but part of my frustration is there's so much like focus on $70 games, price increases, and I'm like, guys, like we should be celebrating. I think what's not celebrated enough is the fact that there's so many entry points in gaming right now. Like, you know, I joke around that Slow-Mo introduced me to crack cocaine, aka Fortnite. But Fortnite is a free-to-play game, right, Slow-Mo? Slow-Mo is a whale. Slow-Mo is a whale. I'm not.
I am not a whale. But Enrique's a whale.
But I've spent over $100 in that game already. But again, that's a fun game. Those games didn't exist 30 years ago. Those games didn't exist when I was growing up. There was one entry point. You could either, there was PC and console, but it was like $50 games, and that was pretty much it. There's no indies. There's no $20 games. There's no games as a service. There's no free to play. There's no free to play on mobile. There's none of that. No microtransactions. No DLCs. So maybe I shouldn't say microtransactions. I know that might set some people off, but there was no like downloadable content to extend the life of a game. There was none of that. There was only one way to get into gaming, and it was expensive. I mean, I've talked about inflation and adjusting for inflation to the price of games. If you do the math backwards, games that were $50 back in the 90s are equivalent to like $125. You go back to the Atari, when the Atari 2600 came out, it was like the equivalent of paying $800 and something today for a console. I mean, gaming was very expensive, and the industry's figured out a way to, create these different entry points that really, I think, just cater to a variety of different consumer groups. whether somebody wants the cutting edge AAAs, or they want a free to play game they could just jump in and just play with friends, or they could play on mobile. I mean, there's just so many different ways, and I really think that those things should be celebrated more than what they are. So I'm sorry, Game Logic. I just want to point that out, but go ahead, man.
No, I'll throw out one more shot. Like you guys who are guys, girls, whatever. It's not gender specific, right? People who are, the accolade I'll give is people who are tuning into this podcast, even if you don't agree with us, even if you vehemently disagree with us, right? People who are tuning into this podcast and then going and listening to another podcast and then reading some information, right? Kudos to you guys, right? I don't agree with Hogue Law, right, and everything that he says. I don't agree with lots of these other podcasts that you guys listen to, half of whom I don't know who they are and didn't exist because I've never considered them as credible sources of information, right? But at least, right, what I'm always a fan of is if you're gonna be vehement, right, and energized about anything that you claim, at least check, right, 3 sources, better 5, right? So, thanks a lot for people who are out there doing that, and again, making an effort to be better informed.
Real quick, I gotta get the super chat. I forgot. Big shout out to Worry, by the way. I see you in the live chat, Worry. Alvin with the $5 super chat says, honest question, wouldn't raising the price in the U.S. also, even though they don't have to, financially help offset the weaker areas? Thanks for the combo.
I would say yes, right? It's all a balancing act, right? Which is why I sometimes disagree with some of the sentiments. It's all a lot of calculus, right? And it's a lot of very heavy analysis, right? In a lot of juggled spreadsheets, right? Making the determination of, where is the best place to do the thing, right? And that also incorporates elements of risk. That also incorporates, other financial elements. One of the things we talked about, I think on the rant or whatever, is, supply chain management, right, as well as some of these broker deals, right, in other countries, how much you pay in tariffs and other things like that. As much as I yell and jump up and down and light a trash can on fire about them being math, right, and me being dispassionate about them, right, a lot of them are also based on human relationships, right? A lot of them are also based on conversations that are had at embassy wingdings, right, over drinks. So sometimes it is entirely
a lot of deals
based
get
on the
made
math.
over drinks, by the way.
Right.
I can speak from experience.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, my own business experience, right? This is actually one of the things that I'm not a super huge fan of, right? But I get often told that I have to go to functions and then I have to participate. I'm the type of guy who used to go out and do my field engineering job, right? And go out and make a system work or go out and troubleshoot something, show up for testing, right? And when I was done, I went back to my hotel room and played games, right, on my gaming laptop. People would be like, hey, dude, you want to go out for dinner? I'm like, no, right? But these days,
I got
right?
some Destiny to play.
These days, right? Sometimes the deals get made, right, when you're out, and so, not all of these deals are inherently bound, and that's why you can get sometimes weird quirks. This is a bit of a tangent, but this is why sometimes you can get really weird quirks in supply chain management, like where you're procuring raw materials from, who you're going to get ODM components from. So that also kind of figures into it and part of it. But I mean, you could raise prices in the U.S. I guess. I mean, I would think that, based on the reception, right, of the that we're seeing here in the United States on Twitter and in YouTube comments, I don't know that would turn out that well for you, and I don't know what the demand signal here is compared to supply versus some of those other places. What I tried to highlight on the rant is, I mean, be aware that a lot of these other places, in some cases, pay exorbitantly higher prices for PlayStation 5 already. In some of the regions where prices weren't increased, I mentioned Brazil. Also keep in mind that in some places where prices were raised, those people were already paying comparatively lower prices for PlayStation 5 in US dollar terms than we were. Like, I think Japan was paying something like $360 US dollars for a PlayStation 5, and now they've got like a $30 price increase. I think that was the case. But the US, last time I checked, was about 17th on the ladder of about 80 different countries, 80 different financial and commerce systems where the PlayStation 5 is being sold, and we were 17th, right, on that ladder. So 16 countries were already paying in comparative U.S. dollars, less money than we were.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. A lot of people don't realize that these countries were paying less than we were for the PlayStation 5 consoles. But I do want to move on. Let's go Slomo.
So if you look at the direct PlayStation.com website, which used to be like you would like try to get in as quickly as possible to get into the queue to try to get a PlayStation and end up disappointed for a good like year of time. But now it's like you can just log on to it at any time and see the bundles. The bundled Horizon Forbidden West PlayStation 5 is available, right? But the actual non-bundled PlayStation is always sold out. People have been speculating that that's on purpose, that it is just strictly they're only selling you the bundle version because together they cost $550, without tax. I was wondering if that is the case, not just at the PlayStation Direct website, but everywhere else that the PlayStation 5 is sold. Because if it's sold out at other retailers, I know Forte gets it eventually every now and then, but like I am probably assuming GameStop is doing a similar bundle that like you can't get the PlayStation 5 alone. You gotta buy like 3 games, a trash headset, and a trash Razer capture card.
Why has it got to be a trash headset?
Because there's always a trash headset. There's always a headset you never heard of.
Are you saying the PlayStation 3D headset is trash?
Oh yeah, it sucks.
Oh shit! Okay,
It does suck. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's bad. You look, it's like
I disagree, but
if people don't like, I have it. I think the mic is awful.
The mic's not great. No.
And I think the sound is overrated.
Oh,
it's a stereo headset. I went and got the SteelSeries 7 P Plus, and it was like night and day difference. And I was
like $100 more component or product.
$50 more, sir.
It's $50 more.
50. Oh, I got the.
It feels like it's $100 more. It feels like it sounds like it's $100 more.
I think the sound because I have the 7Ps, but I actually like the sound of the PlayStation headsets better than the 7Ps.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have the 7P. I have the 7P Plus. So maybe the 7P Plus is different than the 7P. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I paid $150 for the 7Ps. Yeah.
Like as immediately after because I was using the 3D, like when I got them when they came in the mail, I was actually I was helping a friend of mine try to get through Elden Ring on PlayStation. So I'm actually talking to him on my 3D Pulse. I said, hey, yo, this new headset just came in. Give me a moment. I'll be right back. Switch the headsets out. I started talking in the other headset. He was like, damn, that mic is so much better. I was like, oh, okay.
You sound like Christian Bale and Batman on the 3D audio. Where is he?
No, I'm thinking, well, I think anybody can sound like that, especially on the Pulse headset.
You have a deep voice, Limo, when you're on like Fortnite.
Damn. What? Where you going with that for?
No, I'm just saying, like your voice is.
I'm
just saying his voice is deep.
That is Brad.
See, that was a very Forte comment. That's why I was like, "Where you going?"
No, I'm just saying, like, no, I'm just saying, Slow, like you do, like your voice sounds very amplified. I don't know how to describe it. Like, no, it's not. You know what? I'm just gonna shut up because you guys. I can't even play Fortnite and tell Slow-Mo, hey, I'm I got your 6.
No, because you don't say it like that. Everyone knows you don't. You were like Slow-Mo coming up your 6, and I'm like, whoa.
Well, isn't that how they say it in the military?
No, you're not. That's not how they say it.
I swear I've seen that in movies, man.
I am 5,000% certain they never say it like that.
At least I wasn't T-rocking though. At least I wasn't T-rocking the whole pickle thing yesterday. So, but that's another conversation.
The hidden cat. Y'all. No, you kind of jumped in it too. Y'all in the dill pickles. I don't know what was going on. Look, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to play the game. They be talking about pickles and eating pickles and how they like their pickle, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just trying to shoot people. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Yeah, real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but we got like a half hour left, and I kind of want to get through some topics real quick because we're talking about PlayStation. there is some narratives out there, and I've seen a couple articles written in the media about PlayStation maybe losing the console gen, PlayStation 5 more specifically losing the console gen. I'll just throw this out to you, Jeremy, since you were used to work with PlayStation. What do you think about some of those conversations that are happening?
We've had this discussion before, but it's content is always going to be king, and as long as there's the games that drive people to whatever system that they like, that system will survive. And PlayStation is still doing what they do, and I don't think that's changing. We've got God of War coming out. Sorry, I don't work for them anymore, but I mean, God of War is still coming out. The Last of Us is, sneaking in really soon. There's just a lot of content that's coming out that I think people still want. So I don't think that, for all the doom and gloom that everyone says, the games will bring them back, and that's the important thing. So
I agree with I agree with PlayStation aficionado. I agree with him 100%.
So one thing I'll be curious to see, right, as we have been swimming through these unprecedented times, right, where lots of weird things are going on, costs of consoles are going up, costs of Oculus Quest are going up. I wonder if
cost of lumber.
I wonder if Sony is going to be driven to do some more restructuring around its corporate organization. Because I wonder if the PlayStation division is outperforming the rest of Sony Corp so much.
It's been even before they let us go, it was already hinting towards that PlayStation would be the centerpiece for all that is Sony, and that's what it felt like. And for the longest time, even when I first started with the company, PlayStation was like the redheaded bastard stepchild. We couldn't get anything, we couldn't do anything, and then all of a sudden, come the PlayStation 4 starts to like kill it, and then the PlayStation 5 is doing well, bring in Jim Ryan, and all of a sudden, the PlayStation division is front and center in all of the financial reports for Sony total. Very much leading the way for Sony's goals, I think. And I think this is definitely, if PlayStation continues its success, it'll definitely become more and more of a thing. Because you look at you can't rely on Sony movies. Who knows anything about Sony Music anymore? Their TV division is probably the next profitable division in there, so yeah, I think PlayStation is definitely going to be leading the way for Sony proper.
Yeah, but it's got to be more than leading the way, right? I'm talking about, so if you go back the last few years, they got rid of their PC division. I can't remember the other division that they got rid of. It'll come back to me here shortly. But obviously after the great hack of 2011 of the PlayStation Network, they then took all of networking services out of that division and merged them in with the PlayStation division, and created that effect that you're talking about, where PlayStation became front and center. But they've got to be kept. It'd have to be something more aggressive. I'm talking about the potential of actually selling those divisions off and getting PlayStation to stand on its own. And that might actually be a piece of what's behind a lot of the acquisitions, to have them gather up enough revenue inducing bulk that they could become their own self-generating, going concern as a business. Because from a financial health perspective, Sony Corporation, I don't think they're healthy. No. And Faulkner could definitely help me look at these numbers and tell me if I'm looking at them correctly. But they're fewer short-term assets than liabilities, fewer short-term assets than long-term liabilities, right? As opposed to Microsoft, who, again, radically different corporation in terms of scale, but Microsoft's short-term assets could be used to pay off their short-term liabilities and long-term liabilities, right? Which are, again, these are key indicators of financial health. Sony debt has been increasing over the last 5 years. Their debt coverage in terms of how much of their operating cash flow can cover their current debt is below the generic 20% thumb rule, right? That normally we use in analysis. So, financial health not good, past financial performance not good. They are a value stock right now, considered to be.
Are they $80 now? Is that what they're trading?
Yeah, I think so. I'll take a look at that in a minute. But my point is I don't believe this is an indicator of how PlayStation is doing. I feel like this is an indicator of the other divisions that are dragging them down. And this is why I wonder about, and right now the company doesn't borrow. I mean, the company doesn't really borrow a lot of money in terms of like its debt to equity ratio. In fact, it could be argued that they should be borrowing more, and that they're playing it a little safe right now, which may be what they're doing, right, in terms of, money for these acquisitions. But I don't know if they're borrowing that. I think I heard Faulkner say that they're not. They're actually paying for that themselves.
They had like a $9 billion budget, I think, set aside for acquisitions. I think Jim Ryan talked about that. Maybe a year ago or something. Yeah.
So right now, from a stock perspective, this looks like a company that is underperforming and that you wouldn't have a lot of confidence in, but you would hold as having some potential for bouncing back, and so you would buy them at what you perceive is a cheap price right now in terms of stock. But again, I talked about that net profit margin loss.
Logic, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Faulkner's saying that they are financially healthy. He's saying Fitch just upgraded their rating too.
Okay. All right. I will try and take a look at that.
Yeah.
So is that Faulkner in chat?
No, I'm talking about DM.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you can ask him what some of his indicators are of their financial health, because I would just be curious to know.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask him. All right. Let me grab the super chat real quick. Tactical Gamer, $2 super chat. Excuse me. He says referring to closing of Sony style stores. I don't know what he's referring. Tactical, I'm not sure what you're referring to there. You guys know?
Yeah, And so at one point, Sony had a retail chain that was kind of making an effort to be akin to like the Apple stores, and so you would go in them, and they would have like I used to go in them. Sometimes they had one in DC. They had, because I'm a big my chosen brand for camera.
They had one over by the mall over by the Pentagon in Arlington. They had
Yeah. So I'm a big Sony guy for my cameras, right? That's why I use my mirrorless ILC and DSLR. And you would go in there and they'd have all the camera stuff, right? Which sometimes that stuff used to be hard to kind of find even on Amazon. But yeah, there was a point where they divested of all those and shut all those stores down.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm typing right now to. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So Chrono, great points. Thank you, Game Logic, as well. But what do you? So what does the rest of the panel think? I mean, doom and gloom. Are they about to lose the console gen? I don't think they are. I don't see anything that suggests that. But what are your thoughts, Slobo, Forte, or Game Logic? Thoughts?
I mean, look, they're not. This what was
say
being Godfall and stuff.
Over. Say it, Slomo. Say it.
What is no? It's not over.
Say it's over.
Slomo says they're tapping out. Like they met John Jones.
It's just like it's weird that like we are in year 2 of the console gen and people want to call it quits. Like how? Like are they? Is the Xbox now outselling them? Did I miss something? When did things change? Does the Xbox have first party games now?
Oh man!
Did they release?
Oh man!
Did I miss something?
Fill your bingo card.
You asked me for too much, Slow-Mo. You making sense.
I'm just saying, look, I'm just like, when did these things happen for it to flip? Like I understand that Xbox is doing much better than it used to, and that's great. And like I'm all for it because
right, by the way, everyone on this panel would agree with that, by the way. I think everyone on the panel would agree that they are definitely in a much better position.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see it because it's like what it means is that there's more competition, there's better games for us, hopefully, in the future. And there's more competition.
Someone's looking forward to scoring.
But it's just like people take that and then they go overboard and they're just like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's over. And I'm just like, it's over for what? Like, what were you watching a baseball game? Did the baseball game just end? Like, what are you talking about? You're not talking about this competition, this industry, the console market between Xbox and PlayStation. So much can change from now until the end of quote unquote this generation, even though Xbox themselves claim they don't believe in generations anymore. So much can change or in the course of a year. Like a year ago, there were people like, oh my God, they got it right. They righted the ship. Can you believe they are the best publisher this year? Look at their Metacritic scores. Yeah. Look at all the stuff they're putting out. Yeah. All right. And what they put out this year. So it's just like you can't.
Man, Slimmo, you really needed to bring that up, man. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to bring that up, man.
But it needs to be brought up when people lose their damn mind. Like you need to just slap some common sense back into them. Slap some logic upside the head. Not game logic. We don't want to pick game logic up and like hit them with game logic somehow. But like just slap some sense into their head. Like shut up. What are you saying?
So Slow-Mo, what I wanted to ask you, and this is where I was going with my discussion of where my information says, Sony is financially. Be interested to hear back from Faulkner because we may be looking at the same information and reading it differently.
He's in the live chat right now.
Okay,
Logic.
very cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of my questions is, in the Cold War, there is an argument that
is this Call of Duty Cold War? Or?
there's a very apropos. Very apropos. There's an argument that the U.S. basically outspent the USSR, right? And that's how we won the Cold War. Mm-hmm. Is it feasible that in the strategy and the strategic path that Microsoft is going down,
oh no,
that they are even whether it's intentional or not, right? That it's feasible.
They got to outspend them. They could just outspend them into take that. That's definitely a possibility. It's a possibility. But is it? Well, I guess what I was speaking before more towards like the people I've seen that have had that talk. I think the console gen is already over. Like they think there's no other possibility. Like that. That's the eventual. It's inevitable. Like they think they're Thanos or something, right?
Yeah,
and it's
that's
just
cap.
like it's massive cap. Like you don't know what's going to happen, and like look. They're definitely like just prepare yourself for this. After this ABK acquisition is done, they're gonna buy another publisher. It's like it's just what's going to happen, right? It will happen, but that doesn't guarantee that like Sony's done for. Sony's probably gonna buy another big time developer and possibly a publisher in the future too. So it's like all this consolidation is still happening. It's happening whether Microsoft does the acquiring or not. We see the moves that they made, also increasing their stake in From Software, the same as Tencent did. And they may not have the kind of pockets that Microsoft has, but that doesn't mean that like the brand that they have, which is far more popular worldwide than the Xbox brand, isn't what it is. Like
someone look at Nintendo.
Yeah, like Nintendo's running away with this generation, by the way. So like it's what are they fighting over? What do these people think? It's so funny how like the whole mindset is like Microsoft has got it won. It's just like what won? Because Nintendo's still outselling you in hardware and software.
Well, some people are thinking, Slomo, that the PlayStation Sony is pissing off consumers because of $70 games and the price increase.
I mean, look, like people they're pissing people off.
Yeah,
and I think there is a level of arrogance there that think that like, well, our brand is so strong that we can kind of do certain things and not explain very well why we do certain things, and it doesn't fucking matter. You're gonna buy our shit anyway, which to a degree is true, but then
like Nintendo.
To a degree is also but they're not Nintendo though.
There's levels to this.
That's the difference because Nintendo's games sell like 30 million copies, and you don't have a single game that sold 30 million copies, Sony. So like, you're not Nintendo, so you can't do that. You can't put a game on the market and be like, yeah, we're gonna vault this like we Disney. What? You gonna do what?
And Nintendo doesn't brandish that arrogance either, right?
Right,
Nintendo.
right.
I mean, what I've said about Sony is, they have a messaging problem, but where I have given them, I don't know, positive marks, if you want to call it that. What I've said is, okay, but at least in the last year they've become consistent, and so at least if you're going to be a jerk, when you're consistent, at least I know you're always going to be a jerk. So look, one of the reasons why I don't flip out and get surprised by anything that Sony does is because they telegraph that punch, and they've been telegraphing it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
We believe in generations. We believe our customers, are willing to pay for quality. We believe our customers are willing to pay for upgrades, yada, 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 right? At least the theme is consistent and it doesn't change. Again, it's very super Apple-esque. Right? I never expect Apple to come out with the next generation of a thing at a lower price. Right? They're consistent. But this is where Sony sometimes flies a little too close to the sun, right? In thinking that they're Apple. Right? And they think that they can pull off things that Apple can pull off. And I'm not always happy about the way Apple also brandishes, right? Brandishes, we won't refer to what they're brandishing, but Sony can't pull the thing off. Just like we said, based on that super chat question, right? Sony tried to open retail stores because they thought they could pull an Apple, right? And they thought that they could make these marquee, bougie, posh places that people would love to come in. And as a big Sony camera guy, I loved coming into those stores, right? But it didn't gain the traction across the market. So Forte, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, Slobo just mentioned it, right? Sony jumping in bed with Tencent, not really jumping in bed, but we'll call it that for the sake of argument, jumping in bed with Tencent, creating an alliance to buy up chunks of From Software, a third of that popular developer. One of my questions with you is, if Microsoft is capable of just outspending Sony into the ground, is this a viable strategy for Sony to create partnerships and alliances? What the SEC might call colluding, but we won't call it that here.
Oh right? Man, you just started a new narrative, Game Logic. Tomorrow on Twitter, Sony colluding.
Listen,
Could Sony? Could they partner with some other big Tencent, NetEase, even Amazon and Google? One of the things we often leave out of the conversations is Amazon and Google are in that top rung of largest earning game development publishers, and that is solely because they don't produce their own games, right? That is solely off their 30% take that they take from games selling on their mobile marketplaces. Right. So do you think a partnership and alliance a la Survivor is a viable way for Sony forward to keep pace with Microsoft spending?
Well, they already been kind of doing that. They invested into Epic. Now you see the NetEase situation. I mean, the biggest way that you take down someone that's bigger than you is you bring more friends to the fight than they can. Because if you can, they may be bigger, stronger, can outspend you and stuff. But if you have more people able to fight that fight, you'll stay in that fight longer. It doesn't say that they're going to last as long in that fight, because ultimately, if Microsoft wants to outspend you, they're going to outspend you. There's only 2 or 3 companies in the whole entire world that can outspend Microsoft or even keep pace to them. So unless Sony's going to align themselves with somebody like that, and that wouldn't be them aligning with PlayStation. That would be them aligning with PlayStation not aligning with them. That there'd be 2 different things going on there. Sony would pretty much be almost like selling the company to one of those companies and stuff if that was the case. But no, this is when I saw the information, I say, oh, this is definitely what they need to do, because they're making partnerships with companies that they already have relationships with, and they have really strong relationships with. So they're able to find their ways into backroom conversations and backroom deals that other companies can't. They're using their overall market strength to basically say, hey, what can we do to make our relationship even more stronger than it is now without having to go to the lines of acquisition or anything like that. So, yeah, this is the best way that they can do it, and they're fighting a fight that they know how they can fight when it comes to the strength of the brand that they built with the publishers and the allies and stuff that they have in that industry. But ultimately, it also just comes back to how much can Microsoft really buy after this? Like, will they make another purchase? Sure. Will they make another $60 billion purchase? Or $20 billion purchase when it comes to like something like EA or bid on that? If that was to happen,
They would have to spend more than 20 to get EA.
No, I'm just saying something. No, I'm just saying something.
But yeah, I know what you mean. It was something that's like way more than say the Ubisofts, the Square Enixes.
Yeah, are they gonna be able to buy
sub 10 billions?
Yeah,
but like not as big as Activision. And I think that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah,
like that's what I was just saying before. Like, just prepare yourself for a day where you wake up in the morning and it's like Microsoft has acquired, Electronic Arts or even Take Two's not really off the table. If you look at but prior to Activision, we thought that like they will acquire the smaller ones, the guys the size of Bethesda, ZeniMax Media, and smaller, maybe a little bit bigger. But they would never acquire Take Two. They would never acquire Activision. That's just too much. That's too much money.
Well, they could acquire those companies.
I mean, they had the money to do it, but did you have the balls to do it? Is the question. Clearly, they have that. And Phil Spencer said last week that, I mean, he doesn't even have to go to Satya for some of these smaller ones. There's a committee that he'll speak to that Satya is a part of it, but like for the most part, he can just go make that deal done and just talk to them and be like, hey, look, this is what we're spending. And they'll be like, all right, cool, go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah, and then
so that could be a Ubisoft. That could be a he said to a certain point. So clearly, like when you spend $70 billion on Activision Blizzard King, that had to be something that like everyone had to look at. It wasn't just a Phil Spencer acquisition. Yeah. That was clearly Satya signing off.
That was their biggest acquisition ever. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. So, but like now, if you're going to spend, let's say you're going to buy Embracer Group, and you're going to spend 15, 20 billion just to make it good on their side, to make sure they don't have any issues with it. They're going to all get die rich. Cool, let's go for it. Like, I think he could probably make that deal without having to go to what's her name, Amy Hood. What is her name? I can't remember.
Yeah, Amy Hood. She's the CFO. Yeah,
he could probably make that deal without having to sit down with Amy Hood for like a few days to get it hashed out. He could probably just make that deal at this point. So just be prepared for that, because it's going to happen, and I think Sony knows it's going to happen. That's why. Before you go, this is why you see them, as Logic said, you can see they're telegraphing the moves that they're making now. Acquiring, although Savage is a completely unknown mobile developer, they've already been in the mobile market anyway. So like people don't even know that they've been in the mobile market, making games on mobile, making money off mobile already. They are pushing further into PC to the point where they said they want to be the Razer of the PC market. I don't think they understand what that means, because don't nobody respect Razer in the PC market anyway. But we understand you want to do a whole bunch of stuff.
They want to be Razer in name.
Right, Razer does a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of it's trash, but still, like they want to make a whole bunch of stuff. Cool, I get it. Just don't say Razer, because people think like quality, and they're like, Razer's quality sucks. So like, yeah. But anyway, like they're pushing in different markets, so they're not just solely that invested in the PlayStation console living and dying. Like that they actually have their hands in other areas and making money in those other areas off of the IP that they have and the strength of the talent they have in house, that they could actually survive that way. So it's they're investing with these other newer developers that are making live service games, first person shooters. Clearly, like they were already working with them because they saw they had a hole in their portfolio from last gen of multiplayer games. They are pushing even harder now with this Activision deal has occurred, because they're going to need those games that they are publishing to be bangers.
Yeah.
When they lose the Activision, the Call of Duty marketing deal, because now they can no longer rely on people just saying, "Oh man, I'm getting that card on PlayStation." I just saw the commercial, man. You see the new card? Sony know what's up.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll add to it is Microsoft's in a position now, especially with this situation with Call of Duty being multi-platform, and if it stays that way, even past all of the obligations and stuff, what's to say Microsoft doesn't continue to do that? Like you say, you talk pie in the sky. I mean, how, pie in the sky, Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. If they did purchase something like 2K, they're already shown the willingness to let these games live where they are. So even knowing those games can still live on a PlayStation platform, you're not reaping the benefits that you were just on a psychological level when another platform has any type of service that they could put stuff into, and then they're also making hand over fist money off of your platform by that stuff just being available there. So that's kind of another aspect of this whole scenario that, Sony's probably going back and pondering off, because even if they do set all these partnerships with all these other companies, could I think, honestly, in my opinion, there's not going to be another developer that Microsoft purchases, or publisher, I should say, developer maybe, publisher not, that all of their games are going to be exclusive to Xbox. I don't think you're going to get the Bethesda thing again. I think going forward, if you do get purchases, there will be some games that will be exclusive to Xbox, but there will be games that will stay, cross-platform where they are, and Microsoft will just reap the rewards of whatever those games live at. And that's going to benefit them even more, because that is the paradigm between Xbox and PlayStation at that point. What is the value proposition? $70 on one, Game Pass on another. At that point, Game Pass might be $35 a month at that point. But at that point, if you're talking about all of these different games and something that's available in a service like that, is that still enticing enough to do that versus having another platform? So I think that would also be another thing that Sony's looking at. It's like, okay, they can outspend us in many different ways, but how do we combat that? And that's by strengthening their partnerships that they have with people like with Square, with FromSoft, with Epic. And if they continue to build on those and get like a really, really strong, I don't want to say backbone, but that's basically what it's going to be. They got to build up their forces in that regard. Then they can combat a lot of stuff. But ultimately, it just comes down to dollars and cents if Microsoft wants to spend that type of money to do it.
So
drops a lot of single player content, and that would give them bigger inroads in Japan.
In Japan,
where although they're doing better than they've done in previous generations, they're still not doing great. So like, yeah, you get Sega, you make that stuff exclusive, and well,
would you remove it off the Switch?
Exclusive-ish, because like you can still put, like, I mean, you're never going to get like one platform exclusive. It'll still go to PC, but then I think doesn't Sega also do some games that end up on Switch as well?
That's what I was going to say. The Switch, the Sonic games do really, really well over there on the Switch. So
they will probably still do that.
They would probably still do that, right?
But just not PlayStation.
Well, yeah,
just wouldn't go to PlayStation.
Unless Game Pass is on PlayStation.
Yeah. Right. Hey, real quick, because I do want to get to The Last of Us. Hey, David Faulkner, the live chat. I did get your DM, man, but I can't address a question you had because I do need to move on to this other topic here. But we'll definitely table it for another discussion. His actual question was relate to, Microsoft doesn't have unlimited spending per se, and he had a question as it relates to Microsoft, like how much they're willing to, bleed out in terms of, the Game Pass and all that stuff. But we could talk about that another time. But so look, I want to get to The Last of Us Remake. The reviews just came out, sitting at an 89 Metacritic right now. Some of the reviews have been
are in so far.
What's that?
God damn, that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's unlikely that it's moving off that 89 number.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be 89. I think Attack of the Fanboy gave it a 60. But there's been some conversation around the $70 price tag. I think was it? I always forget his name. Is it ACG?
Oh, you talking? Yeah, ACG. Yeah.
ACG had a great review, but he brought the point up that I don't think I'm not surprised. I thought this was going to be a talking point in some of the reviews and some of the other reviews that I read. It was he didn't think that he thought $70 was a little bit too much to ask for this particular game, and he said considering that the remaster is available on PlayStation Premium or Plus, whatever it's called. And that he said maybe wait for a sale. So I did hear that come up in a couple other interviews, but then some interviews didn't even mention the $70 thing. They were just some of the feedback was, hey, you know what, this game looks fantastic. It brought the game up to like with quote unquote current gen. Although there's some issues, some gameplay issues, some bugs. ACG mentioned some bugs. I read some other reviews that mentioned bugs, but so again, I'm not surprised by the $70 that factoring into the conversation. I'm buying the game tomorrow. I'm going to be playing it tomorrow at midnight, so I can't wait to play it. Huh?
Same.
What'd you say, Forte?
I said same.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I can't wait. Actually, reviews got me more excited. Even some of the gameplay footage that we're seeing right now, like I was like, ooh, okay. It's got me excited. Like that game is. I like the Last of Us 1 better than Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2 was good, but I do have some issues with that game. But
the whole middle section.
Yeah. Thank you, Forte.
At the beginning and the end are great. Just cut the middle while we be great.
Yeah. Thank you. So Jeremy, what are your thoughts, man, on the Last of Us remake? And what do you think about that conversation around is it worth $70? I mean, because that was kind of a thing for a while. I see somebody saying cash grab in the live chat, but what are your thoughts, man?
See, I wrestle with that idea because for me, I really think that a review should focus on the quality of the game, and it's and a good game is a good game, and so I think that that's what the review should I guess mention. But should the score, if one believes in a score, should that be impacted by a perceived value? I don't know. I mean, because for me, yes, I realize that the game is an old game, 2 generations old technically. I mean, if we're trying to be realistic, but a good game is a good game, and I'm willing, for me, and this goes back to our discussion about what a consumer is willing to, the value of a consumer puts on whatever they're purchasing. Is it worth it? And for me, after everything that I've seen, hell yeah, that game looks amazing. It is one of my favorite games from the PS3 generation, and I would love and I want to play it again. And for me, that $70, even though financially I probably shouldn't, I'm willing to pay that. But should that factor into a review score? I don't know. I don't know. It's something that I've wrestled with, especially even back in the olden days when games were like Nintendo 64 games were hella expensive too. Should that be factored into the discussion or into the score, or should it just be a note in the discussion, in the text of it? And I really don't know. And it seems sort of wishy-washy of me, but yeah, I know I wanted to get it. I know I'll pick it up. I have no problem spending the 70, but I also know that that's, being an older game, that's not necessarily what, it's not for everyone. But a good game is a good game. So
yeah, that's no, I hear you, Jeremy. I mean, I kind of have a different take on the pricing thing, but I want to throw it over to Forte. Forte, because your retail expertise here, sir. Has there been like buzz at the store for you? Like, are people coming in asking about the Last of Us remake? Did we lose Forte?
He's muted, so he may have stepped away.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to you. Let's go to Game Logic real quick. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Logic? Is Logic muted too?
No,
there he is.
I'm here. I didn't expect you to come to me next in the rotation.
I mean, we could go to Slobo if you want, man. It's up to
I
you.
can speak on. I can speak on.
Yeah, you go slow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I look. It looks good. I think some of the choices they made with some of the character models I didn't agree with, like Tess, for example. But I get it. I understand why. I mean, she's had a hard life, so it makes sense that she looks like, 30, double the age of the character model, the original character model from the original game and the remaster. But all the characters look more realistic, more alive. I think that a lot of the changes they made visually to the game, it looks good. Now, that said, again, there is no factions there. We know why there's no factions there. They're working on it separately. It is what it is. Me personally, I always say it like this when it comes to whether I'm going to play it or not. I don't wait for games, but I also don't wait for games I've already played twice already. So, I mean, well, I'm sorry. I do wait for games I've already played twice already. This isn't a big deal to me. If this was a game I was interested in and I'd never played it before, then day one I'm getting on PS5, even though I know that it's coming to PC later this year. Because I know it's coming to PC later this year, and I played through the game 2 times already, then I'm just going to wait for it to show up on PC and play it at its very best, visually, even better than what you're getting now on PS5.
What you refer to is the definitive version of the game, Slobo.
Of course.
Yes, right. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. I think here we can again talk about the messaging that Sony kind of dropped the ball with when it comes to this game and how they approached it. There was a lot of things they said in blogs that they went back and edited and changed what they said, the actual wording of certain things, because they gave a lot of PlayStation gamers a different impression of what they were going to be getting. And then some people, when they finally saw what the game was, they were a little bit disappointed. They didn't get like the full on, as people were thinking, The Last of Us Part 2 gameplay in The Last of Us Part 1. They got a little bit of improvement in AI. They got some things cleaned up here and there, but ultimately it's still the original game's gameplay. You don't get the dodge roll. You're not getting the other enhancements to the combat that made The Last of Us Part 2 such an amazing game. So that stuff's not there, and I think their messaging is what partially caused that to happen, and they gotta get better at that, because I think messaging and their ability to communicate has been in post the reshuffling and the merging of certain departments, where they did a lot of layoffs, and after Jim Ryan took over, I feel like they may have laid off some of the wrong people. Maybe you should have kept some of the people that you laid off that were a lot better at communicating and making sure that the correct things that need to be conveyed to the players and the gamers out there that are consuming your content is actually being delivered in an accurate way. But no, that's it. Like, it's the reviews, like people acting like today a 89 is like a 69. I'm like, well, damn. I'm like, oh my God, it's down 5 points. Like, of course it is. Got content missing.
Yeah.
What did you expect? Like of course, and then you're gonna have your, as they always do, you're gonna have your sites that will give it a 60, or the translation of a 60 in Metacritic, because Metacritic is trash, as it always has been. And this isn't the first time I've said it. I've been saying it for years, but I wasn't shocked by anything that I saw today from the gaming community or from gaming media or Metacritic. So it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Let's Logic. Do you want to chime in or?
Yeah, I don't have any super strong feelings, right? If the buzz continues to indicate that there's not, game stopping bugs, then if it comes up on my playlist rotation, eventually I'll buy it, and I'm inconsequential about the price. It'll be whatever it is at the time that I decide to buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, OpenCritic has it at what is it? 88. So, what did you say Metacritic was, Slimo? 89?
89, yeah.
Yeah, 91% of the critics recommend it. Top critic average is 88. Yep. So that's OpenCritic. Is Forte? Let me check that. Is Forte back? Let me check. You there, Forte? No, he's still on mute. All right, we may not get Forte's input here, but that's okay. We can maybe get his input next week or something. But
so real quick, I mean, real quick though,
ahead,
do you guys think that it's being, the question's being asked a few times in the chat? Do you think that price should be factored into reviews?
I don't think so. I don't think it does. I don't think price should matter, because the value of the product compared to the price is subjective to the person. So what are you doing is adding in yet another dynamic where the actual reader of the review or watcher of the review, however format you created, it may differ from the actual person doing the review. It's just that comes down to personal opinion. I kind of feel like, just stick to the game. Like all the other stuff, because like none of that's going to be relevant when someone reads your review 6 months from now, because the price is going to be different. So why bring up the price at launch and give a score that is affected by the price when that's not going to be relevant years later, where the price is $20 and someone just wants to see the review of the game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I just keep it strictly on the game, and that's it as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead, Logic.
I mean, I say no, but the reality is, I think there are some semantics that are inherently inferred by price that should be reviewed, and so at the end of the day, I think it actually really incorporates price, even though I don't know that it should call it out. Meaning that, I mean, I think it's fair when a game is seen as a full price AAA game, right? If we look at the market, it's kind of tiered in the products that it offers. For a reviewer to look at it and say, hey, this doesn't tell a complete story, right? There's continuity gaps in here. There's holes. There can be indications of quality that are kind of expected of a game at that level. And that's kind of inherently really indicative of the price. I think that swath should be fairly large. But for instance, I don't know that a game that's really a AA game, right, that's being charged AAA prices, shouldn't get a knock for kind of exceeding its ambitions, right? I mean, so at the end of the day, it kind of incorporates it, but I don't know that it should be called out directly. I think the thing that's much more pertinent to the topic of The Last of Us, and this is what I said in the BRAP panel chat today, is I think there's a bigger question about whether a remake should be graded in comparison to the previous iteration, or if it should be graded as a standalone game. Because that's the part of relevancy that I feel like is highly variable, right? Like if I didn't play the previous, right? So for instance, Final Fantasy VII Remake, I didn't play the original. So I don't know that I can, right? And the unfortunate thing is all of the reviews around Final Fantasy VII Remake all made inferences to the previous iteration. And I'm like, I don't care, right? Yeah. I'm coming at this fresh. I don't need a review that's so largely based on a comparison to the previous iteration. And in fact, in most cases, the reviews that ran for that thing did absolutely nothing for me because they were all written in that voice.
That's always something that I always struggle with, especially when, I do movie reviews. It's of a remake or whatnot. Do you judge it based on its own merit, or do you judge it based on the original version? And I always struggle with that. And I guess for me, it always usually boils down to, well, did I like it and why did I like it? Did I like it because it was a remake, or did I like it on its own merit, I guess, is I try and find that weird balance. So I completely understand what you're saying, man.
Yeah, no, that's actually an interesting, great point, Logic, and Chrono, what you guys are talking about. And I kind of agree with you too, somewhat to an extent, like about pricing. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting question. Like, should it be judged just based on this standalone and not the, a previous iteration or remaster, whatever the case was with The Last of Us? Like, I did see some comparisons to the previous, and I understand why they would, but again, I would agree with that. This should be judged on its own on its own merit. Some reviews did do that, but I did see some other reviews not necessarily do that. But I can also, I guess, maybe understand, from the journalist perspective that they want to maybe, I don't know. My assumption is that maybe it has to maybe want to be more thorough. I guess I don't know. That would be my opinion. That maybe some of that's just they feel like they need more thorough, and maybe because of $70, maybe because the game costs like $70, and people, voicing. I don't know if anger is the right word, but saying, hey, this game actually has less content. It doesn't have the factions. It does have all the DLC content. I should mention that, which I haven't played the DLC. That's one of the reasons why I'm buying this game too. I didn't get a chance to. I started playing the DLC content, but I didn't play all of it. I didn't finish it, so I'm looking forward to playing that. But I think some of it is because the conversation was happening. Like, is this game worth 70? I think that the reviewers or that's why some of them are maybe incorporating that into the review because it was kind of a hot topic. So just my 2 cents, but
yeah, the DLC is. I mean, here's the thing, right? And so even with the missing content, that's subjective because there's some people like myself who really just never even really engaged with factions. So as far as The Last of Us Part 1 or the first game, whatever you want to call it, in my experience with the game, my full complete experience is separate than say someone else who spent a ton of time in the multiplayer. I didn't touch it. So for me, is it really missing content? So like even in that is kind of like subjective to the person because if you didn't engage in it, it doesn't mean anything to you.
No, that's kind of an argument I was having too, Slobo, about the factions thing. Like I saw people saying that. They're like, oh, it's missing content. Well, that's subjective. If you don't care about factions, you only care about the DLC or the main, the story, the campaign. In your mind, it's not missing content. But I could see again. But I would understand if someone feels like, wait a minute, it's missing factions. That's of most value to me. Then yeah, I could see that. But I did see people kind of positioning that as, oh, it's across that because they felt like it's missing content. That was just, I don't know, like a general consensus. And I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to minimize that. I just don't think it's equal. Like you look at like how long is the Last of Us Part 1 campaign?
I don't remember, man.
Remember how long it was, but I know Left Behind's only like 3 hours at the most. But like, of course, a multiplayer mode like factions, it's multiplayer, so it should be far more hours than what you spent in the campaign if it's good, if you enjoy it. But for the amount of effort that studio put into each section of the game versus how many hours the majority of the gamers actually put in to each of those different sections of the game, what's more important? It's clearly the campaign over the multiplayer. So like, again, I'm not trying to minimize it because I know there are a ton of people love that factions and we're really looking forward to the new factions, and we're very disappointed and justifiably disappointed with the lack of communication from Sony in regards to the new factions. How they hid information until it got leaked out that it wasn't going to be a part of The Last of Us Part 2. To all this time, since that was years ago, that was before The Last of Us Part 2 came out, and all you could afford to show us this year is a screenshot, a concept art screenshot at that. Like, if I'm the guy, I'm a big factions guy, I'm pissed off. So I get the venom that some people have about it being missing, and about how Sony's gone about things with it, because they dropped the ball big time with that, and it continues to be a drop ball until they actually show something that's substantial. Maybe at the, I doubt it, but maybe at their showcase they're doing this year. That's they'll get some of those people back in. But as of now, it's been not good in regards to how they've approached things.
Yeah. Look, gentlemen, it's 11:15. I do need to wrap up the show. But I want to give a shout out to everyone in the live chat. And please, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button. And if you do, consider subscribing, hitting the bell notification so that you're alerted when we go live. Oh, I got a super chat here. Smokes 901 with the what's his, I don't know the currency czar, the 140. But thank you for that. It says BRAP, Jim Lyon be pimping. Get ready for Last of Us 2 and God of War 2018 remakes at 70 in 2024. Price does matter and everything. I play Last of Us 4 times before. This remake at this price ain't for me, and that's okay. All right, thank you for that super chat, Spokes. I appreciate it. South African currency. Thank you, Kratopsy. No, I thank you for that super chat, Spokes. Appreciate it. But yeah, look, big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Please, again, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. And I want to give a big shout out to our guest this evening, Chrono Zero, Devil Numbers. Chrono, man, always a pleasure, man. Really, enjoy, discussing video games with you. And if you want to be found, let everyone know where they can find you.
Hey, if you guys are you guys are probably on Twitter. You can find me there, Chrono0666. Hey, if you've got a Letterboxd account too, same. We'll talk movies. Always love doing that. Talk video games, comic books, hell, even some wrestling too, if you want to throw that in. Anyway, yes, thank you again for having me. I always love coming on.
No doubt, man, no doubt. And we got Game Logic. Game Logic, hey man, always a pleasure. Talking video games with you as well. And I know if people want to find you, they can figure it out. I think that's. But yeah, man. No. Thank you again as always, man. Appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot. I was happy to have the opportunity to reconcile some things with the chat, although I understand we have not reconciled and healed all wounds.
I think that's uphill battle, man. So, and Slubbo, and I don't know if Forte's back, but you guys have a show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep, it will be on Forte's channel.
I was just about to say that. It was on yours last week. Yep.
Yep. I think we're going to have a whole lot to talk about in addition to some news that's going to be coming out in the morning in regards to Halo that we'll probably be discussing as well.
Oh, some Halo news coming out tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm. And people are going to be upset.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it any further.
I thought it might be a rumor, but yeah. It doesn't sound like it's rumor then. But come through. We're going to have a good time. Not just talk about that. We're going to talk about all the acquisitions that's happened this week. Last of Us Part 1 and a whole bunch of other stuff. So come on through. We'll have a good time. Yeah, there's some topics we get to cover tonight. I may do a BRAP rant again this weekend to talk about some of the acquisitions Sony's making, and we may discuss on that rant the Halo stuff, which is crazy because some of the leaks I've been seeing for Forge are just really cool. Anyhow. But yeah, and I think Forte, he is not back. He's still muted. So Forte, look, great show as always, sir. I don't know if you can hear me. Maybe you can. Maybe not. But yeah, definitely check out Forte and Slow-Mo tomorrow night on Forte's channel. Gaming with Forte for DPS podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, thank you again, everyone in the live chat. Big thank you to our guest this guest this evening, Chrono. I said evil because you have the triple sixes. But yeah, everyone, hey, enjoy the weekend here in the U.S. It's a 3-day weekend, so if you're in the U.S., hey, spend some time with the family, friends, grilling, playing some video games. But remember, just have fun doing so and be safe. So on that note, we're out. Thank you again, everyone. Appreciate it. We'll catch you. Give me a follow on Twitter, BRAP_podcast. for the updated information as it relates to the show. Again, we may do a BRAP rant this weekend. I'm just not sure when. But I will have that posted on the Twitter account. So thank you again, everyone. We'll catch you next time.